Hello, this is Nathan Gallahan, and along with Alicia Neubauer, we wanted to get out a video of our faculty development session that was supposed to happen at the faculty meeting on April 23rd, but unfortunately ran out of time before that happened. So we are going to deliver this content to you via a video on YouTube. We will also be sending out a copy of these slides so you can look through them, as well as the links at the end of the slides to access the tools that we're talking about during this presentation. But we wanted to talk about engaging online learners for a number of reasons. Number one, it is very germane right now to the clinical environment that we are all working within. So as you all know, we don't have students in person. We're limited in terms of some of the activity that the residents and other learners can do. So finding ways to engage ends up being a really important issue in the context of online learning. So why do we care about engagement? Well, engagement turns out to be extremely important, especially when you don't have face-to-face or in-person interactions. There are a number of benefits for having a fully engaged audience. It increases satisfaction with the content. It enhances the motivation to learn. So if you want someone to learn a new task or develop new skills, having a motivated learner goes a long ways towards being successful at that. It reduces the sense of isolation. I think we can all relate to that right now. And being able to engage with people in a meaningful way at a distance really helps to get over that hurdle. It is also really important for improving student performance in online courses and online work. And there are pretty good studies to say that if you have an engaged audience, they're going to get more out of their educational experience. So in the end, we want to move away from this, and I'm sure all of us have felt this way a little bit these past couple months with all the Zoom meetings and WebEx meetings that we've been asked to be a part of, and move towards this, using engagement in online learning in order to really facilitate kind of the development and acceleration of our learners. So there are a number of strategies, and I'll just go through these very briefly in terms of engaging learners online. Number one, it's really important to tell students what to expect. What we do online is a spectrum that could be all the way from a whole program or a course down to just a simple short interaction. So letting learners know what the expectations are up front really helps to orient them to what they're expected to do and sets the stage for success with the rest of your online activity. Offer novel content, insights, or activities. So it gets really boring hearing things that you've heard before. So finding ways to deliver content that's new, give them new ideas or new ways to do things, new activities, tends to be a lot more engaging than going through a PowerPoint that people have heard time and time before. Highlighting the relevance, so finding the pieces that are going to change practice, finding the things that are going to really make a difference. Those are important and really stand out. Ask participants to keep the cameras on. So I think all of us, especially during Zoom meetings, are tempted to turn those cameras off. You can tell a difference when people are live with cameras and the sort of interaction that happens. I think we've all palpably felt this, so asking people to keep those cameras on is important. A social check-in at the beginning of the course while students are joining can be important. This can be as simple as just a really quick introduction, letting people know who else is online, and that helps people to form a little bit of a social network, which is really important, especially in an online context where we can't see those social cues and those other parts of communication that just aren't as easy. Create collaborative workspaces. Now this is more important if you have a longer term, a durable class or something that's going to be a regular recurring series. But if you create a workspace, so this can be a message board, for example, where people can share content and share ideas, you really foster collaboration. Collaboration really is the key to success in an online course or an online forum. Again, especially in the context of something that's going to be more than just a one-off. So creating those places where you can collaborate is really important. Providing clear guidelines and expectations we talked about a little bit, but I want to highlight too that incorporating real-world content and cases is especially important here. So again, we want to make learning real. One of the key principles of adult learning theory is that you really need to engage them with things that are going to be practical, things that they're going to see in the real world. So using real-world content and cases goes a long ways towards making that step. And then putting knowledge to the test, so using things like quizzes or assignments that they can do either individually or as a group is a great way to offload some of the work from yourself, but then also to check your audience's comprehension of what you're talking about, so you can make changes or address questions that come up and dispel any misunderstandings. So I'm going to hand it off to Alicia here for a moment to cover the next section, then I'll come back to wrap up at the end.
I want to quickly go through a couple of tools already built into Zoom that you can use to add this interactivity to your lessons. And so just as a reminder, all faculty as members of UNMC have access to a Zoom Pro account. You just have to request it. So if you go to this website, which is on the UNMC intranet page, and scroll about halfway down the page just below the table that compares Zoom Basic and Zoom Pro memberships, you'll see there's a request form that you can fill out to get access to this. Once you have access as a Pro member, then you're going to want to make sure that you're using your own personal meeting ID when you set up meetings. If you don't have this selected, all of these options won't show up for you. So the first tip we're going to implement then is creating collaborative workspaces. And you can do this through both whiteboards and annotative features within Zoom. So now I want to show you another way that you can add in some different interactivity to your lectures. So as you can see here, I am just sharing a normal PowerPoint slide within Zoom. I have my options along the bottom. Again, this is within a Pro account where I'm signed in with my own ID, as we showed you how to in the beginning. And so the way that you can make it so you can either annotate your slide or your viewers can annotate your slide. If you just want to be able to, you click annotate, and as you can see, it gives you options about adding text, drawing on it, spotlighting different items. You can change colors, you can clear it, and you can save it. This would allow you, say as you're talking through, if you want to talk about congenital heart disease, to actually draw on your image as you talk. And so say you want to talk about a VSD, you could draw the VSD in as you go. However, to get even more utility out of this, you can add in so that your viewers can also annotate the image and everybody can see that in real time. And so you might use this by, say, asking a question like, if this was a 1-year-old with normal heart function, which direction would you expect the blood to flow across this lesion? And so in order to do that, you want to go to More and make sure that Allow Participants to Annotate is selected. Also, you may or may not want to show the name of your annotators if you want to see who's drawing on the image at that time. You would then ask your question to the group, and each of your viewers could then annotate the image as they wanted. Now, in order for them to be able to do that, what they'd want to do is at the top of their screen, it'll say, you are viewing so-and-so's screen. Next to that, it says View Options with an arrow beside it. If they click on that arrow and look at the bottom of the screen, they get the option to annotate. And they can then have the same options that you see that you have here, and they can draw within the image, and it'll show up on your computer as they do what direction the blood's flowing, and they could then explain that to their classmates as well. Now, they get all the same functions as you, except they are not able to clear the screen themselves. Only you can do that, and so you can clear all the drawings, your own, the viewer's drawings. They do, however, which is very nice, have the save option. So if you go through and draw quite a bit on this to explain your point or the teaching point you have, the students can actually take that image, hit the save button, it'll save it as a photo, and they can refer to that later on. Now maybe you don't want to annotate on a specific image, you just want to have a regular white screen. In order to do that, you want to go to New Share, and instead of selecting a screen or an image that you're on, you want to select Whiteboard. Now my screen is going to appear a little bit different than it would appear to students, but if you were doing this for students, they would only see this white portion of the screen. They don't see the PowerPoint behind it. And as you can see, you've got the same options that you do with the regular image that both you can draw on this screen and your viewers can, and share that information in real time as you discuss it. So another option to create collaborative workspaces is to use breakout rooms. Now, full disclosure here, part of online learning can be creating your own content, but that can take a lot of time. So you also can become a curator of resources. And so this video I'm borrowing from the Zoom resources page, and they'll briefly go through how to create a breakout room and some of the features within those breakout rooms. You would use this in settings similar to if, say, you were presenting a case and you wanted to talk as a big group, break into maybe groups of 2 or 3, have the students work through the case, and then come back together and discuss what they found.
Hey everyone, Farah from Zoom here. On this brief video, we're going to show you how you can leverage our breakout room feature to take a large meeting or virtual classroom and split it up into smaller groups or sessions. You'll see that I have already enabled the breakout room feature, which you can find in your settings along the bottom. And that breakout room button will actually be right here. This is a button that only your hosts or co-hosts will be able to see. And right now we don't have a co-host in the session. If I manage my participants, I can hover over Catherine, for example, to make her a co-host. So she'll see this button now as well. When we're ready to split the group into smaller sessions, I can easily click this button to get a pop-up window asking me how many rooms I'd like to assign out and how many participants per room. For this example, it's recommending, since there are 6 people, we can split it up into 2 rooms. I can do this automatically or manually. So if we click on the automatic button, it'll generate those breakout rooms for us. Certainly if there's anyone I want to swap out, maybe I want to move Michael to the other room, I can exchange him for a different participant. Once I'm ready to open all rooms, I'll click this Open All Rooms button, and our participants will be able to join the sessions that we've created for them. So we'll slowly see those people join. One thing that's really important to note is that as a host or a co-host, you can actually hop between the different rooms to talk to the participants. You can see here I have the Join button. Now everybody's left to go to the rooms. I can broadcast a message to everybody and say, wrapping up in 1 minute. And this will broadcast the message, and then I can close the rooms, which gives them a 1-minute timer to rejoin our session. We'll give everybody a second to rejoin, and I'll show you 1 or 2 additional features with breakout rooms. There we go. We can kind of see everybody kind of popping back in. Now everybody's rejoined the main session. You'll see that I have the opportunity to reopen these rooms again, which is really great. If you have a very long session or a very long virtual class, you can split into these virtual smaller groups as often as you'd like. And the additional options here will allow you to automatically close breakout rooms after a specified amount of time. You can also change the countdown timer to be 30 seconds or 2 minutes if you like. I'll show you a setting where you can also pre-assign folks to be in your breakout room before the classroom starts. You'll want to navigate over to the class that's already been created in your Zoom portal. Under the Meetings tab, you can find your meeting. Scrolling all the way to the bottom, you'll see if we open this to re-edit it, I have the opportunity to pre-assign a breakout room here. And I can create the rooms and upload a CSV with all of my participants in advance so that their names are already populated in the room when I start the session. That's basically how you can run breakout rooms. We hope you found this video helpful. If you have any additional questions, please visit us at support.zoom.us. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.
So the last tip that we're going to implement is allowing participants to interact with you and really making them put those principles you're teaching into practice. And so one way to do that is to ask questions that require the learner to pick a side. Now you can do this several ways. The chat function we've already used in our other meetings, so I'm not going to demonstrate that. But another way, if you want to ask multiple choice questions, is to use the polling function within Zoom. And we're going to watch just a short video on this. Will show you how to start a poll once you're in a meeting, but at the end they also go back and show you where you can actually add in those questions if you want to make the poll ahead of time.
Hey everyone, Farah from Zoom here. On this short video, we're going to review polling for your in-meeting experience or your virtual classroom. As the host, you can see that I already have a polling button built into the toolbar along the bottom. And when I click this, this will give me the ability to launch any polls that I've already set up between world history and US presidents in this example. When I'm ready to launch this poll for my class, I'll click Launch Poll button. And then I'll be able to keep track in real time as my participants are responding to the poll. So we can see here we have two questions basically around some of the wars from previous centuries. And we can see as the responses start coming in, I can see 2 out of 7 people have responded. And there's a timer up top too. So I can tell everybody this is a pop quiz. We have 10 more seconds for you to get your answers in. And then once those answers are completed, I can click End Poll. And we'll just go with what we have here. And so I can see that 60% of my class said 1914 for World War I, and that also 60% said Otto von Bismarck. What I can do from here is share the results to the class so they can see what the results are as well. And although this doesn't tell me who answered what, I can pull the report after the meeting has concluded to actually see who in my class responded correctly to the answer. When I click Stop Sharing, I will have the opportunity to relaunch the poll. It's very important to note here that if you relaunch a poll, it starts it from scratch, starts it from 0, and there's no way to pull that report from the first poll that you launched. So please keep that in mind. Now I've pre-created this poll. I've already added it from directly from the website. I'll share the web page here so you can see where you can find polling. From any meeting you've already scheduled, all you need to do is scroll to the bottom of the page to see any polls you've already created. You can edit them here, and you can also add additional polls here. Hope this video was helpful and gets you off to the right foot starting polls with your classrooms or your in-meeting experience. If you have any other questions, please check out our support page at support.zoom.us, and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Other ways that you can ask questions, especially if you want more options than just multiple choice questions, are to integrate different live polling softwares into your Zoom as well. And so these can be things like using Poll Everywhere or Kahoot and Socrative, but we won't go into further detail with those today. So now that we've completed some of the different ways you can add interactivity to your synchronous Zoom sessions, I'm going to let Nathan finish with our asynchronous sessions and demonstrating perusal.
All right, so Alicia gave you a few tools to think about in terms of the use of Zoom in particular. I wanted to point out that the things that Alicia talked about are relevant to what we call a synchronous online learning environment. So synchronous means that the learners and the instructor are all together at the same time in the same virtual space. So there's the ability to interact in a live way. Oftentimes, though, in a online arena, you can also have a asynchronous format, and asynchronous means exactly the opposite. So you're going to share a learning space, but people are going to be there at different times. And so a great example of an asynchronous learning space would be a message board. So an instructor could post a question and ask for responses, and the learners could be asked to post a response and then reply to the responses from other people in the course as well. So this is key to, for example, what we did in the Masters of Health Professions Teaching and Technology course that I was a part of. Much of our coursework was centered around that concept. And so that's one way to do it, but I wanted to share one additional tool with you that I think a number of others found very useful as a teaching tool as well. And this is something called Perusall. So Perusall is an online website that is dedicated towards allowing asynchronous interaction. It's useful in a number of contexts. So number one, it has a trove of online textbooks that are already preloaded. And you also have the ability to upload other content. So that content could be in PDF form, so things like textbook chapters. In addition, you can also use things like a journal article. So what I'm going to walk you through really quick is how this works. So this is an example of an assignment that I actually took part in during my course, where there was a textbook chapter uploaded, and then the instructor asked us to comment on the content as we read through the book. And again, you can set the number of comments that you want your learners to put in, but it's a really nice way to offload the work so that most of what is happening, most of the learning that's going on, is that interaction between the learners. They're learning from each other as they're reading the content. So as you go through this is one page of that textbook. You can see some of the text here is highlighted. If I click on that, that's a place where someone put a comment in. So one of the other people in the course made a comment, and then somebody else came in after and made a comment on this as well. You can use hashtags and @ signs, just like Twitter, in order to tag themes or tag other people. And when you do that, they get an alert or an email, depending on how you have things set up, to let them know that someone has replied to a comment they've made. But people are able to highlight different sections of the text. So you can imagine this would be really helpful for an online journal club, for example, if you didn't have the ability to do that in a live fashion. A nice thing that you can do for your learners. So I found this tool really helpful, and actually it was a really great way to engage with people and have some conversation about content without having to be online at the same time. So again, it's a great way to export some of that work and that content to an asynchronous sort of format. So we're going to wrap up there. Again, we will share both this video content as well as the PowerPoint presentation that has the links to some of these tools as well. But please feel free to reach out to either myself or to Alicia and let us know if you have questions or need help with any of these tools. We both recently finished the Masters of Health Professions Teaching and Technology course, and so it's really dedicated to exactly this, engaging online learners. So we're here as a resource on the Children's and UNMC campus if you need help with figuring out how to navigate all of the changes that we're going through this last couple months. But good luck, and please get out there and work on engaging with your learners online, and if we can be of help, let us know. Thanks.